Hey, welcome back to Dealer Confidential. Greg, stop those jokes. We are here to pull the curtain back on dealership transactions. We do that every week, but today is a special show. It may sound a little self-serving, but it isn't because we are brokers. And today the subject is, what does a broker do? What value does he or she add in a transaction? I'm looking forward to getting into this, Greg.
Yeah, and you know what? I have my infamous letter or email from a dealer, and he's asking almost the same question, but a little bit different. He's saying, why do I need a broker? Not what does a broker do, but why do I need a broker?
Yeah,
I think
well,
it's the same subject.
that's a great question. It's the quarterback of the deal, right? So it protects confidentiality. It qualifies buyers. It navigates the OEM approval process. The list goes on. I mean, the broker is the center of the bow tie between a buyer and a seller.
That's good.
And a key enabler, if he's doing his job, a key enabler to a successful transaction. You talk about reducing risk too. All of these things are investment, return, and risk. And a broker moves the risk line on the deal away from the seller or buyer, whoever you're representing.
Right. Well, let's talk about that for just a little bit, and then we'll move on to some of the other subjects that we have for today.
Sure.
We are brokers, as Hal mentioned at the beginning of the show. And what we've done, we're certified, we're licensed in the States, and we can do this. Now, we're a little bit different. You may say, well, I have a real estate broker who I dealt with to buy my house and whatever, and all the stories that come out of this stuff. We are real estate brokers. We can sell properties. We're licensed to do that, but we're automotive dealership business brokers, which is quite different. There's only a handful of us in the country, and very few of them are successful because of the fact that they don't have the experiences that you and I have had. And, you have your 40 years. I have my 40 years, both at OEM and the retail side and
Yep.
in our own companies. So I guess what we're bringing to the table for my questionnaire today, or my questioner today, is we're bringing 80 years of experience dealing with automotive franchises, not dealing necessarily with real estate, not dealing with that piece of property that you want to buy and do something. No, we do that, but that's not our function. Our function is to buy and or sell and or both an automotive franchise.
It's not just from the broker standpoint. Greg and I have been with the OEMs. We've been on the dealer side of things. Greg teaches courses. We've done consultancy and so the 80 years is not just as a broker. We've been at every chair around the closing table.
Exactly.
So we've seen it all.
So
almost.
let's start talking about how we're going to get our new clients, the ones that are going to be calling us tonight. How are we going to get these dealers interested in, number one, selling a franchise? Because without a seller, we don't have a buyer. So Hal, it's in your court right now. So walk us through, I guess, first the approach that you use to act a potential seller of a franchise. And again, you open up your Rolodex and say, okay, these guys are maybe potentially sellers. So let me start calling. So where do you go from there?
Well, it's all about the seller's goals, right? And the timing for the sale, right? So we do a lot of succession discussion, right? So what are you going to do when you want to retire? Do you have family in the business? Do you want to keep the property? Do you want to sell the property? What are your goals? And then you step back from those goals and you put together the plan, right? Yeah. And it's important to put the goals first, because a lot of brokers they're all just commission hungry. Let's do a deal. Let's get paid. And sometimes you can help someone by slowing them down and not speeding them up and getting them to just ask the right questions, right? Yeah. And listen to the answers, and then develop what we do is lay out options. We lay out the options.
Yeah. And I think,
then of course we value the business. And, we've talked about all those steps, but most importantly, we're an advocate. We're an advocate for the buyer.
So let's continue to talk about the broker's role. And what you do, Hal, is you obviously contact a potential seller.
Yeah.
And like you just said, the first phase is evaluating whether they want to sell or not. We haven't even gotten into the business yet. We haven't even looked at the business. We haven't evaluated it. We haven't, put a price tag on. We haven't done any of that.
That's right.
And that's really our expertise. Getting someone to sell a business is one thing. Getting someone to sell a business that is viable or that someone's going to want to buy is another whole story.
Or bankable.
Yeah, good point, because we're going to talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah.
So the first thing, we do, both of us, and we talked about this in some of our previous podcasts, is the infamous confidentiality reports and notices and/or pages and/or documents and/or whatever you want to call it. It's an NDA. Yeah. It's a non-disclosure. And what that does is that gives both the buyer and the seller an opportunity to say, hey, I'm serious. I promise not to divulge any of the information that you guys are going to give me, both buyer and or seller. And we're going to see if we could move this thing forward. Now, because you sign an NDA doesn't mean that there's a deal. It means that you're going to get a look with us at the potential of a deal. That's all it means. And it means that you're going to have to keep it confidential because these dealers, as you know, the selling dealer does not want the fact out that he's selling a dealership to his staff, his people, his comrades, the manufacturer, all of this stuff. None of that should get out prematurely.
Or the competition. Because the competition will use, you don't want to go down the street and buy from XYZ BMW.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear they're for sale?
Yeah.
Who's going to service your car after that kind of thing. There's dirty pool.
So the
other thing,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Greg.
No,
the other thing I was going to say is after you talk about the goals and you get the NDA in place and there's a level of trust that this whole conversation, data and conversation, is confidential and sensitive. You do the valuation and you see if there's an alignment of what we think we can sell on the market with what the dealer has in his or her head. Because we straight shoot. We're transparent, right? We're going to tell you the truth. And if there's a big gap between what the seller wants and what we think the market will bear, there's many times where we say we're sorry, we can't get you that, right?
I took a quantum leap here, and I have to go backwards for half a second. Prior to an NDA, you and I are going to evaluate both the buyer and the seller to see if they're viable. If we're going to ask you questions,
yeah,
going to be probing questions, they're going to be delicate questions. We're going to want to know your experience. We're going to want to know how much money you have. We want to know what you want to do, where you want to be. We're going to do all of that before we even enter into a confidentiality report because, number one, nobody wants to waste time. I don't want to waste your time, Mr. Dealer or buyer, and Hal doesn't want to waste the seller's time. Yeah. So we're really going to put you through it. So be ready when you make that phone call to us. We're going to ask the probing questions. And if you pass our tests, then we will issue an NDA and we will say, okay, let's continue the discussions. And that's how the NDA starts. And that's how the potential deal or review starts.
And back to the alignment, I would say I would rather not have the listing than to take the listing and not sell it. And that doesn't happen very much with me because I'm very careful about the way I market and the way I price the deal, right? So my closing rates, and so are yours, are well above industry average, as well as our, selling price as a percentage of our asking price, right?
Yep.
So we know how to do it. And if we can't get there, we'll tell you right off.
Right.
We just won't play the game.
So again, these are some of the roles of the broker. And this is why you need a broker, an automotive broker like us, if you want to do a deal. And the other thing is we've gone past very, very quickly, but we did it, I think, in episode 2 or 3, qualifying you as a buyer, qualifying the person who calls us on the phone or emails us. We're going to qualify you. So that's part of it too. And then after that, Hal starts the process and Hal with the deal structure. So let's talk about deal structure a little bit, negotiating what you believe that the purchase price should be, land, real estate, all that other stuff. And then we start talking about closing and getting into some of the other subjects that we need.
Well, but before that, we develop professional materials that are relevant, that are differentiating and compelling. We tell the story of the dealer. Okay. Every business has a story, and we are careful to articulate how the business has evolved, how the business has grown.
Right.
We demonstrate the value in the package. We have the pictures. We have any number of items that will basically rationalize our asking price, right? And then we'll also have financing packages in the materials that that indicate a bank has seen this offering and is willing to lend on this offering, right? So that's a compelling package. There's actually two packages. There's the teaser package and then the confidential information memorandum,
Right.
CIM for short. The teaser goes out, doesn't say who it is or where it is exactly. The call comes in, then we do the qualification that you're saying, the NDA, the financial statement, see if there's a fit, and then the prospectus goes out. Then we get into negotiation, letters of intent, those kinds of things you were talking about just a minute ago.
Right. And then obviously part of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending out to you, Mr. Customer, or Mr. Client, I should say. We're going to be sending out a questionnaire. Questionnaire is quite extensive, and this is some of it's financial, who you are, what you are, where you are, but it's what you want to accomplish. What kind of franchise you're looking for, where you want the franchise to be, the size of the franchise, what your revenue stream wants to be or should look like, and more importantly, what kind of funds you have to fund this project.
Yeah. Greg has a list of questions for the buyer, and I also have a list of questions for the seller that rolls into those documents that I just mentioned. So there is a bit of synchronicity here between a buyer and seller as we're preparing for the two to come together.
Yeah, and again, when you sign up with us, feel very comfortable that none of your personal information is going to go to the buyer. It's going to go to the banks. Hal and I have to represent that you are a viable prospect to purchase a property, and you have the wherewithal and the ability to purchase this property. We're basically swearing to that when we sign the operating agreement or our signing agreement with the potential dealers, both buyer and seller. So we have to go to bat for you, Mr. Customer, or Mr. Client, I should say. And the next thing we have to do is take a look and say, you have X number of dollars. We understand that. That's great. It's a good start. But we're going to have to go to a financial institution. So Hal and I are going to have to call in some favors from our banking friends, whether it's a flooring line, whether it's working capital, whether it's, oh my God, it's a Ford store and Ford wants $2.5 million for virtual identity. I mean, we have to do all of that stuff in addition to you buying the store and dealer selling the store. So that's another whole level of performance that a real estate broker who's just used to selling property has no idea what we're talking about right now. No idea.
Yeah.
So again, the importance of dealing with automotive franchise, development people like us. So that's what you should be expecting from us. The questions and the answers should be coming from you.
Yeah. So it's in the marketplace. The teaser's out there. The call comes in. I will vet the buyer. I will answer tons of questions. There are already a lot of questions are in the sim, but I will also articulate questions that are asked. And then if the buyer is interested, I'll work with them and Greg, who's representing the buyer, to do a letter of intent, an LOI for short. This is a non-binding expression of interest. There are two elements that are binding: confidentiality and exclusivity. The buyer will want a period of time that I will not be able to talk to other prospects because they're going to be doing due diligence and they're going to be spending money with a CPA and an attorney to prepare what will hopefully be a purchase contract, right? So they want a period of time. I'll want it to be very short because I don't want to take the business off the market. Greg will want a little bit longer because his buyer needs time to do the proper vetting, right? So we'll come together. We'll come together with a reasonable period of time, and that LOI, that letter of intent, will be the document that kind of sets the foundation for and the structure of the deal, right?
Now,
how much debt, how much equity, the timing,
everything,
the mechanics of the whole transaction.
Yeah, what's included, what's not included, the FF&E, the whole everything. Now, to our clients, potential clients, new clients coming in, we will do it all for you. We have automotive, probably the best automotive attorneys in the country. We have the best automotive accountants. If you would like to merge in your existing lawyers and accountants and stuff like that, we'll work with them, of course.
Yeah.
But please understand that our guys are automotive specialists. This is not a real estate transaction. Part of it might be a real estate transaction, but we're talking about buying a package of real estate, franchising, equipment, vehicles, banking institutions, you name it. So again, we'll work with your people, but let us bring the professionals to the table. It does two things. It streamlines the process for all of us. It becomes very professional, where the buyer gets a comfort level, and more importantly, the seller gets a comfort level that we're going to deliver a bona fide buyer for his property.
Yeah.
That's extremely important to develop this comfort level between both parties, but more importantly, from the seller, because the seller's going to some way step back and say, oh my God, did I make a mistake bringing Joe Smith in, signing this LOI with Joe Smith? I don't feel comfortable. Well, it's our job to make that person feel comfortable on both sides. So those are the things. And then the next thing we should talk about, Hal, is while all this is going on, we have this LOI out there. We have not approached a manufacturer yet. We have not approached we call it the OEM, whatever. We won't do that until we have a deal, because number one, we don't want to get the manufacturer riled up. There's a couple of things that we try to avoid, and not speaking out of turn, the manufacturer has the right to avoid a contract or not approve it, lack of a better word. Can't void it per se, but he could definitely not approve it. So we may be doing all this work and the manufacturer says, at that point, we're going to close down. Then it's like, oh my God. So before we do that, Hal and I make some preliminary phone calls. We talk to the OEMs a little bit off the record. We find out if this dealership is viable, what the dealer has been doing. And then we have a comfort level now from not officially from the OEM, but unofficially knowing that, hey, there's a deal to be had here. So we got to put it together. Right, Hal?
Yeah. And just a quick point on this automotive attorney. There's so many unique automotive conventions. You really want an automotive attorney to do this. You've got work in process. You've got customer deposits. You've got the vehicle holdback. There's used vehicles. There's lots of little gears that turn the big gear on the transaction. And the automotive attorney knows all those things and can put the right language in the LOI and in the eventual purchase contract that will make the OEM nod yes.
Right. Exactly.
So don't want to lose that point. But Greg's right. We now are in the LOI stage. The buyer's doing due diligence. We're doing some background work. We're also doing some background work with the lending, for the buyer. We're trying to get the financing all lined up. We're talking about working capital. We know what the working capital guides are for the present dealer. We haven't applied yet to the franchise, but we'll have to do a sales and profit forecast that will generate a new working capital. It'll probably be similar. So we have a planning guide. After we get the LOI and the questions answered, the attorneys come up with a purchase contract, and that gets volleyed back and forth between buyer attorney, seller attorney. We get that done. And then as a broker, I will write a letter for the seller to put on his or her letterhead, and that will accompany the purchase contract as it goes to the OEM. And it'll go something like, we've enjoyed our relationship, appreciate the opportunity to represent the brand, blah, 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 blah. However, as part of our sales and service agreement, this letter officially notifies you that I have sold my dealership or are proposing to sell my dealership pending your approval.
Yeah,
right.
Contract.
So then the OEM, the clock starts depending on the state, and they have so much time to be able to evaluate that proposal and give a definitive yes or no that this thing is going to fly, right? It's typically about 60 days. And so the prospect working with Greg then has to move fast on all of the 25 or 30 or 50 things. I mean, there are a lot of things, okay? There's a lot of paper. And a lot of work. And we know that process like the back of our hands. And that's why we can expedite that process for you and hit that timeline.
Right. And the other thing that we do, and again, I want our clients to understand, is that we do the package. And you're saying, well, Hal's been talking about the package selling, the package of what's included. So the package that I'm talking about is the OEM package. That is a absolutely intense. It's usually online after we meet with them. Again, the buyer's going to have to meet with the OEMs face to face. They're going to have a lovely relationship going on, and then they call it opening up the package to us. And that opening up the package is usually online, and in it usually is 1,000 questions. Everything from who you are, what's your plans, what do you want to be, what's the marketing like, do you have a BDC, were your parents in the business, you name it, it's in there. And then they want to see, projections. They want to see cash flows. They want to see personal financial statements. They want to see 3-year of profit and loss. They want to see stuff that is absolutely mind-blowing.
Background checks. Let's not
My
forget
God,
that.
yes. And it usually, and Hal gets a little break on this one, but it usually takes me, and he's not wrong, it usually takes me about 2 months to finish a OEM application to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer usually takes another month to review. And that may mean additional interviews, so forth, et cetera.
It could be quicker, but it's extensive. It's extensive.
Absolutely extensive.
And it's a lot of it's a function on the buyer getting with Greg. So Greg will know what to do, but sometimes the buyer is chasing all this data.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do, we have about 7-8 minutes left in today's show. It's been a good show, very informative for everyone, I hope. And basically what we want to do is come up with a closing remark for you and give you a comfort level that I hope we didn't scare anyone, intimidate anyone, or, maybe turn somebody off. That's not our intent. We're just getting you ready for the process. And it is a process. And usually 9 out of 10 deals that we put together actually happen. Actually happens, but it takes a lot of stamina, a lot of work, and a lot of compromise. You have to be flexible. You have to on both sides, they have to be flexible. So right now, Hal, could you give us a summary? We've got about, 6-7 minutes left. Let's summarize what our customers or our clients are going to be anticipating when they call us and say, hey, listen, find me.
Well, first thing is goal setting, and then there's document preparation. There's an alignment of value. There's the preparation of the materials. There's the marketing program that we put in place to attract the right buyers. We have a network. We also use all the public for sale websites and publications like Automotive News. The buy calls come in, and whether Greg's representing or whoever's representing, I work with those buyers to qualify them, put together an initial offer, a letter of intent, and get into due diligence, help them with financing if they need it, put together the purchase contract that goes to the OEM, work the package, as Greg called it, with the OEM. And then once we get approval to close or clear to close, then we get with the attorneys and make sure that the title company's on board and the environmental studies are all green, and there's just a lot of, we got to get floor plans aligned. There's always these intercompany security agreements. These finance companies forget the deals that they've already done. So they try to secure assets that they're not lending on.
Right.
So we have to work through that. And then the OEM gives us permission to close. We close. The dealer's money's exchanged, but until we notify the OEM, they'll appoint after we tell them that we've had a successful consummation of the deal.
Now let's talk about the buyer, just from the buyer side. That was a great summary from the seller side. Let's talk about the buyer side. Okay.
I like the sellers.
I know you do. If you're an independent, and an independent definition is that you're primarily sell pre-owned cars and trucks, not OEM affiliated, and your service facility may not be a big one, but there's something there. If you're an independent, don't be afraid of this process. We could help you through it. We could bring qualified general managers and qualified dealer principals who may want to partner with you in your first OEM franchise. So don't be concerned that it's a dead end because so many people tell you, oh, you're an independent, you can't get an OEM franchise. That's just not true. We'll do everything in our power, and we're pretty successful doing that. So that's number one when it comes to a potential buyer. Number two is get your finances and get your house in order when you call us. Be prepared. If we're gonna rattle stuff off, and when you become a client, it's 120 miles an hour from then on, and we don't stop. We can't stop because Hal has that seller ready to go, and then he gets me involved, and we can't stop the train at this point. We're going. So we're going to find the most qualified buyer for that particular seller. And it may be you, Mr. Client, that we're talking to right now, or it may be somebody else. So get your house in order. You listened to our previous podcast, and we told you what you have to get in order, from financing to, we're going to investigate you. You have to have a clean record. All these other things we have to do. Get your house in order. And number two, get your finances in order, in the sense of, do you have a bank that you like to deal with that may be willing to give you a mortgage a favorable mortgage on that piece of property, that dealer's property. Those are the things that we like to hear. If you don't have it, we can furnish them. A little more difficult, a little more timely, but we can do that for you. But as we start the process, start thinking about what you can do to get this deal either rolling or consummated. So it's a two-way street here. That's why Hal and I get along, because, you know, we're on two sides of the street and we come together in the middle of the white line. So that's how it works. And the other thing we want to talk about is the OEM approval. It's a long process, but it's a little scary at times, but we get it done because of our OEM relationships. And, you know, I've been with an OEM for 15, 20 years, almost more, probably more with Ford. So we know how to get it done, but it's delicate. So don't be the bull in the china closet, especially if you're an independent and you're looking for your first OEM. Realize that this is an industry, the biggest industry in the world, and you're now going to become part of it. And that's the fun of it. That's the best part about it. So that's it, Hal. Closing remarks?
No, I just would love to help you buying or selling. Don't do it alone. That's my closing remark. Hire a trusted, experienced individual that will tell you the truth and will be committed to removing the obstacles that will get in the way of closing. That's all I do, is remove obstacles.
Right.
I'm a fixer. I'm a problem fixer, because, as Greg will tell you, I carry a defibrillator in my backpack with fresh batteries, because every one of these deals dies 3 times and we have to bring it back to life. So I always have fresh batteries and my defibrillator. I'm joking, of course, and not making something light that's pretty serious. And that is the selling of one of these things and the buying of one of these things.
Okay, my closing statement is just one line. Partnering with us as brokers, number one, it protects the value of the asset, which is the property that we're talking about. We reduce the risk that you as the buyer and you as the seller has, and we accelerate the whole process. We got to close this thing. So we accelerate the process. And then what we also do is we increase the certainty of it being a success. So that's why you need an automotive franchise broker to get this job done. Okay, Hal, you ready for the shameless?
We do all of that while protecting your confidentiality.
Absolutely. DealerConfidentialPodcast.com. DealerConfidentialPodcast.com.
Yep.
Go there.
Yep.
Sign up. Become one of our, you don't need to become a client to sign up. You need to tell us who you are, join our mailing list, get Hal's white paper for this month, and become part of the family. And then when you're ready, give us a call or email either of us. Our emails are on the website, and we'll be glad to talk to you and then see what the process is like for you.
We have an attractive referral program too. So if it's somebody that you know that needs us, that'll work too.
Right.
You know?
Great.
Just call.
That's it, Hal. Good job. Thanks, everybody.
What are we doing next time?
Next time, I don't know. What are we doing? I'm excited about next time.
I think it's fixed ops.
It's fixed ops.
It's time for some service absorption. That's what we need.
Certainly is. And I'm going to
cover those fixed costs. Yeah.
In fact, I had one of the best in the country, a service consultant, best in the country. I'll mention his name too. So when we get next week, when we get going, and maybe have him on.
I'd love to have him on.
Yeah. He did my class last night, and the kids were really, it was pretty funny. He went on for an hour and 15 minutes just talking about industry and fixed ops and everything else. And I go to my class and I said, okay, anybody have questions? And they're all dumbfounded. And I said, what? I gave you guys a week to do questions. And one kid goes, but Mike answered all the questions for us, even before we could ask him. And I'm like, that's the sign of a professional who knows what you're going to ask before you even ask it. And
right.
So
let's get him signed up.
We may have Mike on next week or a couple other guys that we have lined up. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Have a great week.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.